Merci, bonsoir.
What a character, this Isabelle. Can you tell us, Juliette, how how you first read the script, and how did you discover Isabelle? I know that Claire Denis and Christine Angot, I believe, were thinking of you pretty early.
Not that early. I don't think they had an idea. But when she decided to give me the script, I didn't see the humor yet. So I discovered more when we presented the film to the Cannes Festival last year.
Pretty late.
Pretty late. For us, all of us, it was a surprise because we were doing it quite intensely. It was only 5 weeks of shooting, so there was a sort of, we had to get going. Yeah.
Pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's the second time I watched the film, and you were really split between it's funny, incredibly funny, and yet also agonizing and frustrating. And you really, I certainly felt for you very much throughout the film. Could you tell us a little bit how you prepare for a role like this? Because it's incredible how the range of emotions you have to show, but also pretty quickly within scenes. You go from being elated and optimistic to completely crushed and in tears and in agony. Could you tell us a little bit how you worked to prepare for the film and how you worked with Claire Denis?
So I had the privilege to work with Susan Batson, who's my acting coach, and she's American. She lives here. And so we spent some time together, working together on it, and with Chris Gandois, physically we did some training as well to prepare for the role. I love preparing a lot in advance, so when you get in front of the camera, we can be very quick because you're in already. And also, I think as a director is preparing his movie, I think an actor should prepare it as well. But it's true that, Isabelle is she's falling somehow. She's in her need of finding this soulmate that she's looking for. But yet she's full of hope, and she's each time she believes in it's going to happen. But somehow the other person makes her define where the limit is in terms of respect and a sort of inner dignity, and that's what I like, that she doesn't know, but she knows as she's going throughout the sort of passive-aggressive sometimes relationship she's having. And I think men and women, we can recognize what's going on. That's
No, it's a great part because it's quite refreshing to see a female character like this who's. It's not about pity. No one pities her. I think you feel some empathy for her, for sure. I mean, she's also very frustrating. Sometimes you just want to shake her. But she's also, and I think the way that Claire Denis and Christine Angot wrote the part is that they take a step back and are able to kind of laugh at it all too, because some of what she's going through and what she's doing is pretty ridiculous. And I would imagine everyone anytime in your love lives, which is not necessarily when you're an older person, but you go through those kind of relationship as well, of being very optimistic about meeting someone and dreaming that it's going to be the love of your life and just kind of falling on your face when you realize it isn't. Yeah. And can you perhaps talk a little bit also about your lovers in the film? I don't think you've worked with any of them before, have you?
No, it was my first time. And she chose a lot of directors, so it was fun to see them being in the shoes of an actor. I mean, most of them have been acting before, of course, but it was interesting to have directors. And I asked Claire, I said to her, why are you choosing so many directors? And she said, well, so they don't get impressed by you.
So that's Xavier Beauvois, Bruno Podalides, yeah.
And Josiane Balasco.
And Josiane Balasco, of course, yeah. Let's start taking a few questions from the audience. If you can just raise your hand. And is there a microphone right here? I think there's someone in the front.
Hello, Ms. Binoche. It's a great privilege and honor to see you here in person. Thank you so much. We enjoyed your. Yes, we enjoyed your performance as we always do. It's an honor to see you here in person. Thank you very much, first of all. And second of all, I noticed that you tend to be a great painter. In every single movie where you have to paint. Do you paint in real life?
When I have time, but I never have time, so so not a lot. But I have to say I have a little bit of time coming, so I'm looking forward to that moment, because there's no need of being efficient or performance. It's just a private space for me. And well, when I have to paint, and expose myself, I do, because it's fun. But I like to paint, of course, in a hidden place. I think we all need to have that place of where we do things without anybody noticing it.
Right there.
So I just said it's not limited to women. I really think it's a universal problem. I mean, I've been married, I have children, but I'm still looking for the right person, and I'm still open. But in the film, and I thought you expressed it just wonderfully. However, wouldn't you be more anchored if you spent more time with your daughter in the film? Wasn't she something? No, I mean, that gives you, I mean, I have 3 children.
Anger, he said?
I find that sometimes when I'm depressed or something, they do give you an anchor and something more to live for besides love and emotion and sex and all. And I wish that guy in the first act came quicker.
Well, the thing is, the film is not about, her being a mother, but her being a lover. That's the subject of the film. So it's not about telling the story of her whole story. It's just a specific development of what it is, to be a woman in need, and how she's meeting different men in her life. And so it's about fragments of a woman's love life. And not a description of.
No, I didn't want that much with the daughter, but I just felt it gives you an emotional anchor as well. But anyway, so what?
I've been playing mothers in other films.
Okay.
Hi, Ms. Binoche. Thank you. It was a beautiful performance, as always. I'm looking at you, and I'm thinking of The English Patient and The Unbearable Lightness of Being and Blue, and just phenomenal work consistently all these years. And you talk about being open in the movie, but as an actress, how do you stay so open and spontaneous, particularly during the difficult scenes? Like, how do you take care of yourself on set? Do you stay in character all day? Is this something that just comes instinctively? How do you work? How do you do this miracle?
Yeah, it is a kind of a miracle. You've got to craft fingers, touch wood, spit on the floor, whatever. Well, first of all, when you're surrounded by wonderful people like the director, the crew and all, it helps, because you can open up more easily somehow. And also the roles that are allowed to jump. And this one was one of them. At the same time, for me, you cannot hang on to anything somehow. As an actor, you've got to do a contract within yourself that you've got to go for it. You've got to, whether it's 7 in the morning or earlier or later, you've got to give it to a place that is dangerous, that you cannot hold on to any kind of conventional kind of easy answer. So each take is a jump. And the first take, the first scene we worked on in this film was me dancing by myself on Etta James' songs. So to be in the need of wanting to be loved and finding this love to start the film with was kind of heartbreaking for me, because it was like I had no way to hide. And I think when you start sometime with the worst, most difficult kind of situation, it helps, because there's no, you cannot go around and hide. And so, and there's a moment, you know, I can only take care of the inner world. The outside world, the lighting, the makeup, whatever they need to take care of, you know, me being naked and all, I cannot take care of that. So I just trust them and I tell them. But what really I'm taking care of is the continuity of the inside world of what I'm going through, because that's what people's going to follow as well. So because Claire is so respectful, she has a sense of dignity, a sense of beauty as well, and loving. So she's very cautious at the way she's filming actors, and women especially. And so I felt like I was being taken care of. And it's true that when you have that, which is not always the case, because there's the DP ego that wants to have the ensemble, you know, the light for, but he's not looking at the face, you know. It's interesting how it works. Or directors, they want to ignore that part of it. But Claire, for her, you know, it's still a movie. So you're making a special choice for the image and what you want to show. And she wanted to show a beautiful Parisian woman. That was her idea. And I was surprised by that conception, because I don't think that way. But that's really her choice and art. Yeah.
Right there, and then we'll go back here.
Thank you very much. It was a wonderful performance. Is there a cure for women like the one you play?
A cure.
A cure. Is she doomed to have failed love affairs for the rest of her life?
Can you repeat this, please?
I'm just wondering if there's any redemption for this woman. Is she ever going to find love? Or is she just going to frighten them off with her neediness?
I have no answer to that. That's a big question in my life. I think finding love is the idea of going forward and finding a solution outside of yourself. And actually what the film is saying, find first the solution inside of you. So I think it's a good open door. It doesn't resolve everything, but I think it helps. Now, the capacity of loving is really the big question. And how you receive love is a big question. Because loving someone is almost easier than to allow love in, to allow to be loved. Because it makes you more vulnerable. It goes back to places that are painful sometimes. Because you don't feel worth it or whatever, you went through. And I think what's beautiful with Isabelle is that she has this kind of innocence of that. She wants it, she believes it, and she's relentless. And no matter how many, punches in the face she's getting, she'll go back to it with full joy of maybe he's the one. But I don't have a solution, an answer, because it's pretty difficult, I think, to find that place. More difficult than getting good roles, I'm telling you.
You had a question in the front? And then we'll take questions in the back as well.
I know that you played roles of a lot of middle-aged women who have careers that are related to art. And I think I actually have your paintings in my iPad. And my question is, what do you think is the most special or unique character of your role in this film?
What, my special way?
What is the most special or unique aspect of your character in this film?
The most special
aspect of my character.
Thank you.
What do you think most interesting in Isabelle?
Or most unique?
Or unique.
Well, for me, acting is about being present, and because I was meeting different men and women during the whole journey of this character, So it was being present with each person being different and as present as I can be. So that would be, for me, that was the goal, to really listen for the first time what they're saying, to be sensitive of what's going on, and without anticipating. But you know, I love analyzing scripts and breaking down scripts and understanding where it's going and seeing the arch of it, but I like to forget everything as well. And as you're going into a scene, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm discovering as it's happening. And after that, I forget because I have another project. And so I have seen the film only twice, but I do remember all the scenes because they're in my cell somehow. But what I can tell you is that I've been touched sharing the film with each character. I remember a man saying to me, he had lots of affairs, and he said to me, it feels like it was the same woman. So I leave you to that.
There's a question right there in the lady with the dark hair. If you can raise your hand now, we can get to you.
I had a broken heart and I went to see The English Patient and cut my hair after I saw you. So thank you. Wonderful work. I've admired everything you've done. I'm curious, in the age of Me Too and Time's Up, how one can interpret her navigation through finding love. And I was thinking about that as I was watching the characters of the men, with this period of time with Me Too and Time's Up. And I wondered if you would speak to that, if you wish to. Thank you so much.
You mean with the banker to start with?
Yes,
when she
yes, he was with me.
Yeah. Well, that's the complexity, and that's what I like about, you know, Claire Denis and Christine Angot, the writer, is that it's not black and white. You know, we're more complex, we're contradictory people. So yeah, there's a side of her that she liked the perversity of a relationship, and she allowed it. Now there's a moment she feels like coming out of it because she's been through it, and she doesn't want to go back to it. But I like, because it's not as conventional, or, you know, where you can, you know, predictable in that morality kind of field. But that's what we go through, you know, in life, that it's not as you can get clearer and clearer, but sometimes you need to have strong situations that are going to make you know what you don't want and what you're willing to have in your life.
We're going to take questions up on the aisle, further up.
Huge fan, I'd say, especially since Bleu, Trois Couleurs Bleu, and I think from a lot due to your performance and to Master Kieslowski's direction. And I don't know, the question would be, how did you maintain throughout these years, you're a very luminous actress, I mean, the question maybe is, how do you maintain that beautiful interior sun as an actress, I guess? I don't know if it's...
How do I maintain what?
C'est un bel soleil intérieur. Comment vous...
Well, the soleil was there from the beginning. Just loving life, being curious about things. And I think we all have that. And I think, you know, we all go through different temperatures and lights and dark and whatever. But I think very early on as a child, I was in a boarding school and I went through a tough time being somehow alone, but I always had the joy of playing. And that really kept me going because of the imagination, because of our power, the power we have to imagine things and create things. So I think when you reach the creator in you, you stay forever. So that I think when you identify with the emotions, when you identify with the situations, that's where it gets dangerous, because then you're being like, it's in a wave, you're being taken by the wave. But when you somehow identify that it's not you, you're going through that, okay, part of you is going through that, but there's an inner side of you that stays forever the same, and that's the spark, that's the love of life, that's the love of creating, that's the love of searching, of knowing, of not knowing. So for me, it's always been there. There was just one moment in my life when I was 40 years old, after a breakdown or something, a split up. I had a year and a half where I had no desire. But then I allowed the no desire thing. It was tough because I didn't know when it was going to finish. And it felt like, crossing a desert in a way. But somehow, the only thing that kept me going was my children. Because I had 2 kids and that was my contract. But work-wise, I didn't want to do anything. And yeah, there was this time. But that was okay. I mean, it's part of learning also who you are and how you're dealing with things. So what I learned is to be patient with myself, because we are different layers inside of us, and we can speak to oneself, right? So it's just to find that voice and let it happen, but on the other side, let the sparkle be. Yeah. Anyway, that's enough.
That's life advice. We have time for one more question, and I'm going to take the lady here, right there in one of the front rows.
Is there any directors that you'd love to work with that you haven't worked with?
It's funny because I don't think that way. Because I think the plan somehow is somewhere, and I'm not the director of that plan. Even though I'm choosing the films I'm doing, but I tend to not anticipate things. So stay in the open. I do work, I train and I do work because I think that's the minimum you've got to do. But I'm ready to go on, a boat that would go away and for a while and tell that story, because I'm a storyteller. And like, for example, I've been dreaming to work with this Japanese director, Koreeda, and so I'm shooting with him at the end of the year. Yeah. And we've been, bumping into each other once in a while in different festivals. And when I went to Japan, we spent some time, and we went to Kyoto together. And so it just happened 10 years afterwards, we're making a film together. So somehow the plan was there, but I didn't have to push it. It's just the desire to film also has to lift itself as well. So, yeah. Charles Chaplin.
You have to be open. Well, thank you so much, Juliette. Thank you. Thank you.